can fall. A rival always has their eye on the throne, and this one feels different than the rest. After years of falling short, again, and again, will they finally break through, or will the moment break them? Will the unstoppable dynasty reign on, or are we about to witness the fall of the kingdom? One thing is for certain, this AFC Championship will have its own chapter in the NFL record books. There will be a time when we look back and say, how lucky were we?
Are you kidding me? Unbelievable. Every single play. Everything is done.
We're nothing but a bunch of
Diamond ring where? Proudly on the Bills Mafia.
How about those? I'll tell you, it doesn't get better than this.
That's so true. It's Goliath versus Goliath for a spot in Super Bowl 59.
The incomparable Jim Nantz leading the way here on HQ. For that, we give thanks. We also say hello and give thanks to some playoff pedigree in the building as well. Bryant McFadden, Christian Fourier, 5 championship Sundays by my count, a perfect 5-0 for those keeping track at home. But it all comes down to this, fellas. Allen and Mahomes, Chiefs and Bills, we've seen it before. We're likely to see it again. But in the here and now, Mac, as you take a look at these two quarterbacks that will only be measured against one another, what comes to mind in this latest installment?
Just how prolific both quarterbacks have been, especially Josh Allen, because it's safe to say, guys, Josh Allen in totality, he has performed better than Pat Mahomes throughout the regular season. But of course, in January football, that month is known as Pat Mahomes football. He's lived up to the billing. He's been outstanding, especially on championship like Sunday. So this is a telling sign for me, watching both quarterbacks, seeing who manage the system at best, and most importantly, protect the football. Protecting the football is very, very important in playoff play, because if you have turnovers, they count as 2. It doesn't feel like 1 turnover. It actually feels like 2 turnovers because the margin of error is at the bare minimum in terms of postseason play.
The significance of this game is just remarkable based on the fact that these two guys will be tied together forever. And when you think about heavyweight fights and you think about Hagler and Hearns, not Tyson and Jake Paul, we're not talking about a manufactured fight where we're just doing this for clicks and money. This has a lot of meaning to it, not only to the city of Buffalo, but not only for the 13 seconds that is just constantly a reminder to the people of Buffalo, to the Scott Norwoods of the world when you go wide right, and the Jim Kellys and the Marv Levy's. This has so much impact for so many different people, and it all comes down to the 2 quarterbacks. Even though there's other people playing, this game will be remembered by how these 2 guys play.
It certainly will. It is already the second most common opponents meeting one another here in terms of quarterbacks in the playoffs, second to only the 5 meetings between Brady and Manning. It is our Brady and Manning, and we are almost there in terms of data points that we have. This will, in fact, be our 4th. Christian, we talked about it last week, this week, throughout the week, what belief means at a moment like this and what a value that is to the Kansas City Chiefs, who have all of it on their sides. For the Bills specifically, the rosters they've turned over, and we've seen the play level meet it and exceed it from seasons before. But how do they get over that hump within the flow of this game and start believing?
I think it is so important for them to be more mentally tough than physically tough. The amount of mental endurance that they will have to, stick with. It's not 60 minutes, it's 80 minutes. When you think you're comfortable with a 7-point lead, play as if you have a 14-point deficit. That's honestly the way I think it is. And these games and these championship games, especially going to Arrowhead, where you have not been able to beat them in the postseason, in the regular season, you're fine. You have no issues getting off the bus. You're confident. But something about this postseason play that somehow the Bills have got to break the cycle, and it has to start tonight.
You know what it is? Because in postseason, and we've seen this being players of the game and former players and watching from afar, some teams tend to do what? They get tight. They get tight when you're right there on the cusp of playing for the sticky Lombardi. Then you decide to change up everything that got you to this point. And that's what we've seen in years past with the Buffalo Bills, because to your point, Christian, we've seen regular season success for Josh Allen, the Bills, against Kansas City, Pat Mahomes. But it's something about playoff time where things kind of change, the coordinates change. That's because the coaches get a little tight and the players get tight. I remember our first playoff run in 2005. When we got into the postseason, we was rolling. Coach Cowher, Bill Cowher, said, whatever you guys have been doing, do not change it. Whatever routine you had the week of, keep it going, because clearly it is working for you. So if I'm the Buffalo Bills, everything that you've done leading up to this moment, I understand you're playing against the big bad Chiefs. Do not change anything. Attack this game like you have attacked every other game, especially the previous regular season matchups, because there's something about those matchups where we saw a more relaxed, comfortable team that paved the way for wins in regular season play.
And that's how you end up playing Boo Ray till 3 in the morning the night before a Super Bowl, correct? You just keep those traditions. Sorry, I don't know. Coach Cowher, I'm sure he's been made aware at this point. We are just 370 days removed from wide right for Tyler Bass. So obviously a mental hurdle to get over there for the kicker as well. Always at the center of these types of moments when games are separated by so little. This will be 5 Super Bowl Sundays in 6 seasons if it is the Chiefs moving on. Mac, when you look at who they were that run into Arizona, claiming that one, and who they are now, how have they evolved, and what would it mean historically taking us to a place we have not been before?
See, the thing I love about what we're seeing from the Kansas City Chiefs, Joe, Christian, is their ability to play at a high level with moving pieces year in and year out. Because they've been so good, other organizations tend to take some of their players away. Same can be said for some of the coaches. But they still find a way to maximize the guys that are in uniform. And then mostly importantly in January football, they don't beat themselves. That's the thing about Kansas City. If you're going to beat them, you're going to have to beat them. They don't beat themselves. When you look at some games that we've watched throughout this postseason play, we've saw mishaps that led to the opposing team winning or losing.
Teams that have won the turnover battle in each and every game this postseason have won that football game.
Yes, and I echoed that last week, but when you play against the Chiefs, you got to find a way to really literally beat them, because they don't have the self-inflicted wounds to their team that will give you opportunities. So, Christian, it's all about Buffalo playing flawless to be able in a position to win.
And I would just add, ordinary players making extraordinary plays. That's what it takes to go on the road. And you mentioned it. You have to take it from them. So what will this mean for the Chiefs if they were able to accomplish this? I mean, this is like they're immortal. I mean, they think about it, 3 in a row in the modern era. We're not talking about going back to Green Bay where they won 3 in a row, but technically one was an NFL championship, and then the last 2, the 2 after that, were against where you had 16 teams in the entire NFL. So it's a totally different mindset. It's a totally different achievement. That's why you don't see people doing it. You'll have the 3 out of 4, which a lot of teams have been able to do. I did it with the Patriots. It was still really kind of challenging, and the next year we got bounced after the first round. Starting a dynasty and maintaining it is so unbelievably hard. Of all the things you said, the injuries, the turnover, the free agencies, I want my money, I want my bag now, keeping those guys, so they're not entitled and they're not complacent, it's unbelievably hard to kind of channel that energy.
Yeah, it feels like we stamped that dynasty in Las Vegas a year ago, right about now, and you said maintaining it. This is high-level maintenance coming our way by the Kansas City Chiefs. We will see if they can do just that. It will require perfection in the AFC title game. We got plenty more coming here on CBS Sports HQ as we get you set for one we cannot wait for. Next up, we dive into the matchups, position by position, who's got the edge, and then we'll add it all up for a game pick before kick. More HQ pregame coming next. Back on HQ, contemporaries set to meet again, but occupying far different echelons. Josh Allen still angling for that big resume builder. 7 playoff wins, the most by a quarterback without a Super Bowl start. For Mahomes, a perfect 4-0 at stake in this playoff head-to-head, as he looks to become the first quarterback ever to defeat another 4 consecutive times in the playoffs. So many ways to frame the greatness of Patrick Mahomes, and this season, obviously, of Josh Allen as well, but still looking for that feather in the cap to take down the Chiefs. Another opportunity here at Arrowhead. We're going to take you position by position, see where our guys think that the advantage lies, and maybe the most interesting part of this conversation is right where we will start, the quarterbacks. Both elite level, maybe throughout the regular season, guys, it's Josh Allen playing at that MVP level, but Patty, postseason, hard to argue with. Who do you give the edge in this game?
See, that's the thing. In terms of the body of work, Josh Allen has been better. But we're talking about for this moment right here. This is a Game 7 situation, so I'm taking Pat Mahomes in terms of the edge. Joe, you just gave us a cool nugget. He's 4-0 against the Buffalo Bills in playoff football, right? Against Josh Allen, 4-0. In totality for his career, he's 4-2 in championship like Sunday. He's been outstanding. Get this, 15 touchdowns, 2 interceptions in those 6 matchups. 15 touchdowns, only 2 blemishes in terms of turnovers. So I'm taking Pat Mahomes because he's been outstanding in moments like this.
See, when I think about Patrick Mahomes, and it's a shame because I'm taking Patrick Mahomes also, that we're not going to be able to talk about Josh Allen because he's been fantastic. But the thing about Patrick Mahomes is you kind of stop using adjectives to describe him because it doesn't really do the story. And I love this because this is exactly, you start using other players of consequence, right? Guys who have achieved the unthinkable. And you have football players here, but if I was going to describe Patrick Mahomes, I wouldn't just use football players. I would use Michael Jordan. I would use Tiger Woods. I would use Wayne Gretzky. I would use every other person.
Luminaries.
Sure, like the guys that you sit there, you don't use an adjective like, oh, he's so committed, oh, he's so dominant. No, he's like extra. You don't do that anymore because he's been in every single position that he has been in. He has found a way to get himself out of that jam, where regardless if it's 13 seconds or a minute and a half, the dude just finds a way to get out of it over and over again.
This is the floor. 7 consecutive AFC title games. Essentially where the season starts under Patrick Mahomes. You're not guaranteed anything, but he continues to earn his way to this moment. You want to talk about how these two have been playing since they met in Week 11. 35 combined total touchdowns, 1 turnover.
Wow.
It's been clean football. A turnover could undo your season in this matchup. As for the pass catchers, it's 2 groups on each side that have question marks put in front of them throughout this entire season, Mac. Who do you give the edge? Who has evolved best?
Kansas City. Kansas City has really evolved, and it starts with their top pass catcher in Travis Kelce. Playoff Trav, right? Regular season Trav is a little different. He's still sipping pina coladas or whatever drink of choice he loves. But in terms of postseason Trav, he's drinking water, he's eating vegetables, he's having avocado toast.
In the house.
No question. He's getting ready for this championship-like run. So you talk about starting this conversation in comparison with Travis Kelce. And you can't forget about other guys like DeAndre Hopkins. Having a Hollywood Brown back in the lineup is a plus. And, of course, the fastest guy on the football field in Xavier Worthy, along with 15 throwing them the passes. I side with the Chiefs when you look at the pass-catching edge.
Yeah, and I'm with you with the receivers, and it is because of Travis Kelce. And the reason why is because he is a werewolf in the postseason, and nobody has a silver bullet to stop him, especially the Bills. In the last 3 playoff games, he's had 26 touchdowns, 26 catches. Sorry, that would have been awesome if he had 26 touchdowns. 26 catches and 5 touchdowns. They don't have an answer for him. What a luxury this guy has. Can you imagine if the entire field is open to you to do whatever you want, whenever you want it, for as long as you want? That's the leash that Travis Kelce has, and every single other receiver or playmaker is so jealous of him because Mahomes and Kelce share a brain. So even when things aren't going right, they just wait it out and they wait to make a play.
That option route has a lot of works, a lot of stems that you can get to when they are mind-mouth the way they are. I sensed a little tight end, little tight end
jealousy.
envy. Yeah,
absolutely.
It's a fun position the way it's evolved these days.
Hey, so you're telling me I can go anywhere I want without getting in trouble? Yeah, go ahead. Okay.
Well, sometimes this game comes down to the running backs, and that's a place where if we can point to Kansas City being less than right now, of the 4 teams coming into Championship Sunday, the Kansas City Chiefs have the worst rushing attack by the numbers. When you look at the edge between either Isaiah Pacheco, whoever the battery is going to be behind him, or on the other side, Cook in the season he has had, Christian, who do you give the edge to?
I'm going with Buffalo, and the reason why is because when you look at the last 2 playoff games that the Buffalo Bills have played, the backs have accounted for over 125 yards. Now, the previous 10 playoff games, they haven't reached that tally once. So this is an obvious asset for them, and they don't even try to hide it. They go 2 tights, they go jumbo, they bring an offensive tackle on there, and it's been so good. And remember, these 125-plus yards that they've averaged in the last 2 playoff games were against 2 of the best rush defenses in the league, one against Denver to start the playoffs and the other against the Ravens. So they are absolutely committed to it. It's a form of dominance, and they can also control the clock. So it is a major asset for what they have turned into come the postseason.
I'm right there with you, Christian. I love the Bills because they have better quality and more quantity. James Cook is the featured guy. He's really taken that position by storm and been a great productive player for them. And outside of that, you can't forget about Davis and Johnson. When it comes to the Kansas City Chiefs, since returning from that injury, Isaiah Pacheco hasn't really showed the Isaiah Pacheco-ish in terms of running and just the energy. And of course, Kareem Hunt has been doing pretty well as well, but it does not equate to what we've seen from James Cook along with some of the other contributors in the backfield for the Buffalo Bills.
Hard to argue with that there, as he has been one of the best in the business. I know we've been hyper fixated on the seasons of Saquon Barkley and King Henry, but right there, a tier below has been James Cook and the way he has found the end zone, the pace he has maintained throughout this season. Going to be a big part of this one. The old adage, defense wins championships, Mac. I don't know if it rings as true these days. We can go broader conversation another time and place. But as you put these 2 defenses on the field today, Kansas City, when you look at them, pick your window. Last 3 seasons, best scoring defense in the NFL. Maybe the constant throughout this dynastic run. Is that the edge in your eyes?
No question. I mean, look what we did. Look what they did against Houston and C.J. Stroud last week, guys. 8 sacks. 8 sacks. And the storyline last week wasn't Chris Jones. It was George Karlaftis. But when you look at those 2 guys, they can dominate a game easily, and then it helps the other guys out throughout the second and third level. And then you look at the experience in the secondary. I know every year it feels like they're losing a key contributor in the secondary, but yet and still they still have household names that we've seen time and time again make meaningful plays and meaningful moments, led by Trent McDuffie. So in totality, guys, I love Buffalo Bills defense as well, especially with Matt Milano in the lineup. But I'm taking the edge with Kansas City because of the experience. And I talked about playoff travel and eating avocado toast and things like that. The same can be said for Chris Jones because he played some of his best football in playoff moments, and I believe he might have a huge day today as well.
Yeah, so Buffalo doesn't have a Chris Jones. It's a committee, and they are disciplined. They are ball hawking. They are opportunistic. They lead the league in turnovers at plus 24. They have 138 points off those turnovers that they generated through their offense. 10 in the postseason last week against the Ravens. I tell you what, Bobby Babbitt's defensive coordinator and Sean McDermott do not get enough credit, especially last week's game plan when they decided to spy Lamar Jackson on every single 3rd down. Poor Matt Milano. I mean, he was tasked with stopping Lamar Jackson and did an unbelievable job. They got the 2 turnovers that ultimately made the difference in the game, even though Lamar Jackson went down there and almost had an opportunity to do it. But here's what I think is going to happen. They're good tackling. They're disciplined. They're going to be in every single gap. And I think they've kind of understood, what's at stake here, especially last time when they played against the Chiefs, knowing mentally what they need to endure mentally to get through this game.
So an edge to Kansas City, but an interest?
I'm going edge.
You're going edge to Buffalo?
I'm going edge Buffalo.
Okay.
I'm going to stick with Buffalo. Yeah.
I appreciate that we find some dissent between the 2 because we were picking up what each other were putting down here through those first couple topics. I'd be hard-pressed to think that we don't end up in the same place here talking about head coaches and where the edge lies. You got one man who just joined the 300-win club, the 4th member of it. So instead of asking you who has the edge, all due respect here to Sean McDermott on the other side, I want to ask you guys, having played for legendary coaches, what it means to have that sort of leadership heading into a moment like this. Kansas City believes in their guy. Buffalo believes in their guy. But to have an Andy Reid type, what does that mean to this team
I will tell you what it meant for me, being on teams and playing for coaches who they would sit in the front of the room and I knew they didn't know what they were talking about. That drove me nuts. When I got with Mike Holmgren and Bill Belichick, it was just, they made everything make sense and there was a calm about them. It's not the college rah-rah, let's go crazy. There was a lot of information being shared. There was a lot of perspective being shared, especially at halftime or even between possessions. And you just knew if you played at your best, he would call the right play. Like, he would manipulate the other side. That's what Andy Reid does. I mean, people look at Bill Belichick with his wins and how many wins he has. I mean, Andy Reid is closing in on him. Andy Reid is pretty close when it comes to postseason wins. Bill Belichick has 31. Andy Reid has 27. He's probably going to catch it by the time he's done coaching.
And I know two elements for the championship coaches that I played for, along with calling the right plays, something that they added was the ability to have us prepared as best as possible. And that's the thing, you know, sometimes when you go into these moments, you know, fans would ask you, or family members, are you nervous? And I would be like, no. I'm like, why are you not nervous?
Because you were prepared, right?
We were prepared.
Yeah.
We knew exactly what we were going to get. If we didn't go out and just execute and play hard, that's another element. But in terms of knowing exactly what you're going to see, we were always overly prepared offensively and defensively, and it starts with the head coach, and it trickles down throughout the entire staff. And that's the luxury the Kansas City Chiefs, they've had at their disposal because of the experience and the knowledge that Andy Reid brings. And don't forget about Steve Spagnuolo, because he's been in big moments like this where his defenders are always prepared. It just boils down to executing and making the tackles, making the catch, making the blocks. And we've seen the Chiefs do that time and time again.
But belief that you are going to be put in the right position, that obviously stems from Andy Reid. We'll see if we can get one more of those. How about them Chiefs post-game, or if it will finally be
I hated that.
The Buffalo Bills taking one down. We got plenty more coming here on HQ pregame. As you know, the old scars, we like to pick at them.
They never go away.
How about Mac Hollins making an entry? It's getting weirder and weirder by the week, fellas. That's something else. Hey, let's lock in.
Now I want them to go to the Super Bowl so I can see what his Super Bowl outfit.
Can he breathe?
I don't know if we got a Mac Hollins prop coming up, but we do have prop
You do
plays
know who
on
that
the
is,
way.
right?
That's
Animal from the Muppets.
From Sesame Street.
No, it's the Muppets.
we also
Was the drummer.
Was Animal on Sesame Street also?
I think he may have made an appearance.
Which one used to be in the trash can and eat cookies all the time?
That's Groucho, or the Grouch.
That's Oscar the Grouch.
Oscar the Grouch.
So who is
There
this?
you go.
Animal?
That's Animal.
I thought Animal ate cookies also.
Hope you had the under on fabric used. We got prop plays coming up next here on CBS Sports HQ. Taking a look at your box score here in the NFC title game inside the 10-minute mark, and it appears fumbles will be the undoing of the Washington Commanders' Cinderella run, 41-23, with Philadelphia appearing to be threatening to score again. Saquon Barkley, a big part of it, obviously. 13 totes for $114, 2 touchdowns, but Jalen Hurts playing some elite football both through the air and on the ground, finding A.J. Brown for 96 yards and a touchdown there as well. We'll have full reaction and highlights when they go final from Philly. Getting you up to speed with some HQ headlines, where the Cubs are acquiring relief pitcher Ryan Presley in a trade with the Astros. The two-time All-Star agreed to waive his no-trade clause, officially ending his 7-year stint in Space City. In 59 appearances last season, Presley went 2-3 with a 3.4 ERA. In tennis, world number 1 Jannik Sinner has won his 2nd straight title at the Australian Open. He took down 2-seed Alexander Zverev in straight sets. It's his 3rd career Grand Slam title. Sinner, now the 5th men's tennis player to win 3 straight hard-court majors, and the most recent to do it since Novak Djokovic. And in college football news, a coaching shakeup in the Big Ten, where Ohio State DC Jim Knowles is leaving Columbus for Happy Valley to become Penn State's next defensive coordinator. That's the latest from our Matt Zenitz. He'll replace Tom Allen, who left for the same position at Clemson. Under Jim Knowles, Ohio State's defense ranked 1st nationally, both points and yards per game, en route to that national title.
your sports news all the time?
We've got breaking news to bring to you.
CBS Sports HQ gives you a snapshot of all the sports that matter to you.
Big news coming out of the NFL. A lot of movement in the rankings this week.
With highlights.
What a finish at the final round of play.
And in-depth analysis.
Can they three-peat? Tony Romo joins the conversation.
What can you say about this game?
When you need your sports in a snap,
We're bringing you that breaking news right here on HQ.
find it on CBS Sports HQ. Streaming free anywhere you are.
The world of sports never sleeps, and neither do we.
Welcome to CBS Sports HQ Morning Buzz, Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Eastern Time.
You can catch up on the latest storylines and highlights with expert analysis to get you dialed in.
So grab your coffee and kickstart your day off right.
With Morning Buzz only on CBS Sports HQ.
Back in studio, Joe Musso alongside the two-time Super Bowl champ Bryant McFadden as we prop it up before kick. AFC title game coming down the pipe, and got to hold a couple tickets, Mac, man. It's been a fruitful season here on the prop front, so why stop now? We start with Patrick Mahomes. How do you see him today, and how do you play it?
My top Mahomes prop that I love, Joe. Look at his rushing prop. It's set at 22 in the hook. Now, this is a very, very intriguing number, guys, because when you look at Pat Mahomes in terms of what he's done running the football, through 16 ball games that he participated in, he's only surpassed this prop number 4 times. So why is it set at 22 in the hook? Like I said, in 16 ball games, he's only rushed for more than 22.5 yards 4 times. This is telling us all something. They're begging us to do what? Take the under. Guess what, Vegas? I figured you out. I'm going to take the over because the thing I know about this line, seeing that it's set extremely high, seeing what he's done, that's a tricky line. And number 2 is Championship Sunday. We've seen Pat Mahomes do what? Give his best rushing performances in moments like today. I'm taking the over 22.5 rushing yards for Pat Mahomes.
Even on a bad ankle, we've seen him go out and get that rushing yardage in full health here, we assume. We'll see if he can get over that number. Careful, though, figuring out Vegas. They're going to cancel those comps.
We got to do the opposite. When they're begging you to do something, you got to do the opposite.
I'm just saying, we need to keep those comps over there at the win.
No question.
You got to take care of me here. Travis Kelce's been taking care of the football and taking care of his quarterback throughout this postseason. Plenty of questions lobbed in front of him last regular season, this regular season. We keep going through the same paces, and the same Trav keeps showing up when rubber meets road in the playoffs. What Travis shows up today?
His receiving yard prop is set at 75 in a hook right now. I'm taking the over, and here's why. In 14 straight playoff games, it's 65 in a hook, I'm sorry. 14 straight playoff games, Travis Kelce, he's had at least 70-plus receiving yards. That's the thing I love about Travis Kelce. And I joked about him not really being in football shape throughout the season, but you've seen his best effort coming in playoff moments. We saw what he did last week against the Houston Texans, and what I expect to see from him tonight is nothing other outside of what we've seen in previous playoff games. Like I said, 14 straight games where he had at least 70 receiving yards. If that trend follows today, no question, he takes the over. So give me the over, 75 yards receiving.
All right, we pivot to the Bills side of this conversation, and it's very interesting because I feel like some of the same questions we asked a week ago when they were playing the Ravens, we could ask again today. Is Josh Allen greater than the sum of the parts of the Kansas City Chiefs? Not to say he's doing it alone, but less to work with. No Travis Kelce out there for Josh Allen. You see him putting on the superhero cape again and getting it done for Buffalo.
No question, there's spurts in this ball game because I believe he will have to do that for them to be successful. But when I look at Josh Allen props, there's so many different props you can attack in terms of what you believe will actually come true in this matchup. For me, I'm taking his rushing prop. It's set at 49 in the hook. I'm taking the under, and here's why. Look at his previous matchups, right? Let's go to the playoff games. Most recently against Baltimore, 20 yards rushing. Denver, 46 yards rushing. Going into regular season play, 17 yards, 30 yards. The last time we've seen Josh Allen run for more than 69 yards, 49 yards, it goes back to early December against the Detroit Lions. There's something about Josh Allen over the last few ball games where he's not pushing forth the effort to run as much as we've seen in moments throughout the regular season. Me personally, Joe, you know how it is. I got to follow the trend, and that trend tells me to expect the under to happen in terms of rushing yards for Josh Allen. So give me under 49 in the hook rushing yards.
Yeah, he broke that long one when he punctuated the win in Week 11 over the Kansas City Chiefs, but so much of his rushing since then has been short yardage situation, third and short,
push,
fourth and short, goal-to-go situations where You can only amass so much yardage there. We're going to play that one under on the rushing yards for Josh Allen. Bills pass catchers got to offer some help here. Khalil Shakir's been a part of it throughout the season. The tight ends have shown up in spots. Amari Cooper, you called for a week ago. We're still waiting on Amari Cooper. Who are you looking to this week?
I'm going right back to the well.
Come on.
This is almost a desperation prop for me because Amari Cooper, we know how good he's been throughout his career. And we've seen little moments here and there with him being in a Buffalo Bills uniform of greatness as well. But it's something about Amari Cooper. We have yet to see him give us that Amari Cooper-ish game. I'm taking Amari Cooper. Joe, his over-under is 1.5 receptions. He just got to get 2. That's it. In 4 quarters, Amari, just catch 2. 2 slants, hitch route, I can care less, bubble screen. So give me the over because I don't know what's going on, but he's been missing from their game plan, especially when you talk about throwing opportunities. He didn't have 1 reception last week on 1 target. So I'm just desperately believing that they're going to get him the necessary targets to be able to hit at least 2 receptions.
Vegas
so
sets
give
the
me
number
over.
that low. Sometimes we just got to believe. We got to pounce at it. Amari Cooper.
He's too good, Joe.
He's been too good throughout his career. We need him to be featured in this game, at least featured.
Just need 2.
Twice.
Just
we'll
need 2.
see if that is the case. We're going to go to a running back play here, Mac, and take me to either side because Isaiah Pacheco a couple years ago and even last year was the reason that the Chiefs found themselves victorious in an AFC title game, and perhaps he is once again, but hard to look away from James Cook. What are you looking to in terms of a running back play?
I need James Cook in terms of production to show up. The thing about James Cook, when he's at his best, their offense is at his best. So I love James Cook when you look at his prop, 75 in the hook, rushing and receiving yards. So basically, yards from scrimmage. The thing I love about James Cook hitting the over with this particular prop is because he can be a big-time player in the passing game. He's the best pass-catching back they have. And if you go back to a year ago in regular season play, when Buffalo traveled to Kansas City, you look at what they did with James Cook. They were able to feature him in the passing game heavily in that matchup. We didn't see a lot of that in this past regular season game, but if you look at what teams love to do, they love to go back and watch film to see exactly what worked for them and what did not work. He was very, very vital in their success in the throwing game, passing game, with him catching passes out of the backfield. And we know he's going to get the opportunities and running the football as well. So I love James Cook, 75 in the hook, rushing and receiving yards. I love the over to hit.
We'll see if he could be that dual threat and get you there over that number. Time for the one that I've been waiting for.
What you got?
We've spent all season watching these two teams, watching the entire league, formulating our opinions. You know where I've stood for the last few seasons, and I will not waver from that in this moment, no matter how much I want to see Josh Allen get his moment. It's the Kansas City Chiefs. It's a home game. It's the playoffs. I believe they cover this number no problem. 1.5, 49.5. What do you believe?
I believe the same thing you're believing as well. That's why we mesh so well together. I love Kansas City to cover this 1.5, and here's why. Let's just do it like this. Best coach, Andy Reid. Best quarterback, Kansas City. Best defense, Kansas City. And the last major factor for me, when you look at this spread only being 1.5, special teams, Kansas City. That is very, very important because this could be a field goal kick type of game in terms of winning and losing. And we've seen Tyler Bass from time to time be a bit iffy. And if you had to trust a kicker to make a kick, I'm siding with Kansas City.
Say it with your chest. We've seen one cost his team a trip to the Super Bowl potentially, and we've seen the other kick game winners at the biggest moments that the game has to offer. It's coming down to the K game. I know where I side as well.
Kansas City.
Kansas City laying the 1.5, 2 votes for it. We got more coming here on CBS Sports HQ. More prop plays as the sharpest man in sports joins the show. Todd Furman in high demand. We got him coming next. If you hear whispers of enter Sandman, that's because we're bringing in the closer. The big righty Todd Furman in with his prop picks. We're going to run him through those same topics we just gave to BMAC. BMAC can offer some reaction. We do have a head-to-head as well within. We're starting with Patrick Mahomes, Todd. When you project his numbers across this moment, what do you see?
You know, it's tough, Joe, because when you look at the full season body of work for Patrick Mahomes, it wouldn't suggest that you wanted to look to try and play over on any of his props. Kansas City has shown a lot more balance. They haven't been nearly as explosive this year as what we've seen in previous iterations. But if it's not broke, you don't try and fix it. And I think you look at the AFC Championship data that we have on hand, and quite frankly, it's quite copious from Patrick Mahomes and company. Andy Reid wants his best players to touch the ball in the games that matter the most. And what does that mean for the way Kansas City wants to run its offense? Mahomes is going to throw it early, he's going to throw it often, and he's going to exceed odds makers' expectations with the completion number set in the mid-20s. I have no problem with attempts either, but he's gone over the completion number in the last 4 AFC championships, and I don't think it's going to change against a Bills secondary that couldn't get off the field in some of those timely situations last week against the Ravens. Look for Mahomes to have a big day throwing the football.
Yeah, sometimes it's those 1 or 2 drops that burns us on these numbers. Vegas so sharp in setting them, but this is a heightened sense of the moment here, always from the Kansas City Chiefs. Going to be converting on plenty of those short and long Patrick Mahomes passes. Travis Kelce's an interesting one here. We got BMAC riding the Kelce wave towards another Super Bowl Sunday. Do you find yourself on that same boogie board, Todd?
You know, this is one of the things, Joe, where it's so much different for the way that we go about approaching some of these player props. The money that is won or lost on Travis Kelce just as green as on some of the other players. But a lot of folks out there are going to go, you know what? We'd rather pass than try and take an under on Travis Kelce. But that's where I'm here to tell you there's a little bit of opportunity to go under this number. Now, full disclosure here, this price has been bet down a touch from where it peaked in the market at 69.5, now sitting in the mid-60s. Travis Kelce has gone over this in playoff games, 14 straight meetings. But to quote our friend Hakeem Dermish, the trend is not our friend here. I'm going to take Kelce under. If Buffalo goes down today in yet another AFC Championship game against these Kansas City Chiefs, it's not going to be because Travis Kelce beats them. I'm taking him under 65.5. BMAC, tell me why I'm wrong.
Yeah, I'm on the opposite end because during your nice statement, you gave us some information that I'm riding with in terms of what Travis Kelce has done in playoff football. You said 14 straight games in playoff play where he's had at least 70 receiving yards. The prop is set at 65 in the hook. So basically, he's shown the ability to consistently hit over this prop. And that is the trend that I am following because you just gave us, you said the trend is your friend. For whatever reason, you don't want to be a friend with the trend. But guess what, Mr. Trend? I'll be your friend.
Yeah, I think we found ourselves on different sides there of not only that play, but of the Hakeem Dermish saying, the trend is your friend, but the trend is not always your friend. Also in play.
I want to be the friend of the trend,
with
Hakeem,
so
I'm letting the trend know.
We'll see. I do know this. Travis Kelce now has more 100-yard receiving games than Jerry Rice. He also has
greatness.
The yardage and touchdown records well within reach as well. Could come to pass in the Super Bowl or a crazy game here. I don't know. Do the math on it. Josh Allen. I don't see the math adding up here for the Buffalo Bills unless Josh Allen is spectacular in this game. What do you see for him today, Todd?
You know, Joe, I'm quite disappointed BMAC didn't try and go into a rendition of You've Got a Friend in Me, try and hit the right notes, and really turn this into a sing-song prop segment here. But you mentioned Josh Allen having a big day, and I think there's actually a negative correlation because if Josh Allen is going to be asked to take on a huge workload today against Kansas City, it probably means that Buffalo is playing from a negative game state. I think this is going to be a tightly contested game from start to finish. And when you look at the way Buffalo has had some success down the stretch, it's committing to that ground game, whether it's James Cook, whether it's Ray Davis, whether it's Ty Johnson, it's all hands on deck type approach. And we've seen the Bills really lean into their 6 offensive lineman set. The other thing about Kansas City, for all the accolades we heaped in their direction early in the season, when this run defense was a real strength, you look at how they've performed in the last 5 to 6 games, and it's been a real problem. I mean, Joe Mixon had running lanes aplenty. You look at the game on Christmas against the Steelers, and a much maligned Steelers offense was able to get their backs going. I think Josh Allen is going to be asked to convert some 3rd and 4th downs, but I don't think he's asked to do a whole lot in the passing game. I'm going to take him under 31.5 pass attempts. I think his legs will be just as valuable a commodity here against this Chiefs defense.
A stoic nod of approval from Bryant McFadden. So we roll on as we look towards a running back play. Either side here, Todd, what presents the most value?
So unfortunately for Kansas City, they came into the season thinking Isaiah Pacheco was going to be the guy that could give them balance in the backfield. And Pacheco returned from injury probably sooner than a lot of us expected, and he just hasn't had that burst. In a game like this, I don't think you're going to feed the horse early and often. We've seen Kareem Hunt look refreshed with that 20-plus day layoff, and I think Hunt is actually going to outsnap Isaiah Pacheco in running downs. As a result, Joe, I'm going to take Pacheco under 8.5 attempts. You look at his over-under for total rushing yards in the game. This is a number that's been bet down. That was going to be my preferred path, but at 30.5, not a whole lot of wiggle room. I think Isaiah gets the ball 5 to 6 times here, but I just don't see him taking on a full workload that allows him to flirt with 9 or more. I'll take him under. He just hasn't had that same physical running style we've grown accustomed to since returning from that lower body injury.
A sharp edge always there when Todd Furman answers. And Todd, we need you to answer one more. A game pick you expect closely contested, but what is the end scene? 1.5, 49.5. Where have you found value on the game number?
So I said it last week, guys, when we broke down the Bills and Ravens, that I didn't show a tremendous amount of value in the betting market, and I don't here either. With Kansas City, I make about a 1.6-point favorite, so 1.5, it tells you ain't a whole lot of wiggle room. But I think you guys mentioned it. It's the pedigree, the coaching, the fact that the Chiefs haven't turned the ball over in more than 480 offensive snaps. Coming into today, there had been 280 turnovers across the league since Kansas City had given away the football. I know Buffalo has been great protecting the ball this season. Josh Allen avoiding the negative plays. But to be the best, you have to beat the best. And I'm going to pay to see if Buffalo can do so in hostile territory. I think Kansas City finds a way to punch a ticket yet again to the Super Bowl and setting up a rematch against the Philadelphia Eagles, something we saw in Phoenix just a few short seasons ago.
Todd Furman, simpatico here on CBS Sports HQ. We got one more play coming before kick. It's the AFC title game coming up on CBS and streaming on Paramount+. But before that, for one last time, we put it all on the line. One walk to the window for everybody's best. That's next. you know what time it is. It's that time. Time to put it all on the line. One walk to the window for everybody's best. We begin with the sharpest man in sports, Todd Furman. What do you love?
Thanks, Joe. And look, what Kansas City has done over the last couple seasons is a script written by Hollywood. And that's exactly where I'm going to go today with Hollywood Brown to get off the milk carton and into the stat sheet as an explosive big play threat downfield. You look at the first meeting between these teams, and Buffalo struggled a ton to slow down Xavier Worthy. So I expect them to roll coverage there, do everything they can, Travis Kelce. But Hollywood Brown put together back-to-back 40-yard performances in the final 2 regular season games. And I think he is the field spacer that the Chiefs need to keep this Bills banged-up secondary honest. I'm going to buy low on Hollywood Brown and expect him to flirt with 60 receiving yards. I'm happy to go over his total in the low 40s.
Well, Ty, for me, I'm taking a side. I'm not going to overthink this situation. I just got to go with what I know. And with that being said, give me the Kansas City Chiefs money line play. I'm taking the Chiefs. When you look at Pat Mahomes, he's only lost in Championship Sunday twice. The 2 quarterbacks that have beaten him, Joe Burrow, not in the playoffs, Tom Brady, retired. He's owned the rest of the league. He's done a phenomenal job in these moments, not to mention the experience that he has with his head coach and Andy Reid. So there's no reason to overthink this thing. You're trying to make a quick dollar. You got to go with the person, the player, the team, the coach who you trust the most, and that is the Kansas City Chiefs for me. Christian, which direction are you going?
Well, you know me, I like the sure thing, and I don't mind paying for it either because I want to be able to sleep at night. So I'm going with the Josh Allen anytime touchdown. And he's got a touchdown in 7 of his last 9 games, not including the 1 snap that he took when he played against the Patriots in that last game at the end of the regular season. But this is what you're going to get. You're going to have a gotta-have-it play if you're the Buffalo Bills to win this game. And the ball is going to be in the hands of Josh Allen. And I would not bet against him, Joe. It's all on line. Who you got?
That sounded like a Josh Allen anytime or a Josh Allen last touchdown score. Plenty of value there.
Hardly that.
I'm giving you something far more straightforward. That's just Travis Kelce and Travis Kelce and Travis Kelce and Travis Kelce. This is the offense this time of year, and I think there's going to be a drive where he has 3+. I'm going with Travis Kelce receptions over. Feed that man. Take a look at those plays one more time. The professional Todd Furman likes Marquise Brown over his 41.5 Hollywood. Brian McFadden, he's known to be a bit Hollywood at times. He's taking the Chiefs on the money line. We'll pay that extra 26 cents to the dollar. That's it. Mr. Hollywood. Christian Fourier on Josh Allen anytime. Seems to be a sure thing these days, and I'm giving you Travis Kelce over his 6.5 receptions. That's going to do it for HQ pregame. We hope you enjoyed. Straight ahead, the AFC title game on CBS and streaming on Paramount Plus, and right here on HQ, reaction to a drubbing. It's the Birds heading to the bowl. We react next.